Oh, there we go. Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt
What a
from.
voice to start.
I don't know why I started
Warn
like
me
that.
before you do that.
I'm tired. I don't care anymore. So let's just start this bad boy off. I'm Matt from Unlimited.
Baseball.
I've always hated baseball. My sister just said, "Boo, I suck." Thanks, Dana. I appreciate the love. But welcome to the
You're Matt
Unlimited
Neffy.
podcast on the Unlimited YouTube channel. I'm Matt from Unlimited, alongside with my good buddy Tyler, guest as always. What's up, Tyler? How are you?
I'm basically your second in command on this channel, so as
Pretty
always,
much.
I'm happy to be here.
Pretty much, even though Walter is convinced it's him, it's not. It's you.
Well,
It's
Walter,
always
guess
been.
what?
Oh, shots fired.
There we go. So, but yeah, obviously I'm excited to be here. Obviously, we previewed the season with like all the free agency and off-season stuff that went down. Now it's time for us to look back and realize how many mistakes we made.
Yeah, and I think that's a safe way to put it because looking at some of the standings, we were wrong. In some cases, we were. In other cases, not so much. I mean, we expected like the Astros to be where they are, but we didn't really expect it to be this dominant of a lead. But the Astros are in first place. That's one notable example. There's one prediction you got right, though, and it's the dark horse Yankees, even though they haven't really played like those dark horse Yankees lately.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it,
yeah. But it's hard to believe that we're already halfway through. We're at the All-Star break. We're about to start the second half of the year. Playoff teams are starting to form. Honestly, like it's amazing that we're even at this point. I feel like we were just talking about like the first month of the season, and now we're at the halfway point of the season.
Dude, you're telling me. It's crazy, and it's funny because I actually joked with my parents the other day because normally, like, my birthday is the 15th. Normally, the All-Star game falls either, like, right before or literally, like, on my birthday.
Right.
So it's kind of funny that this year the All-Star game and All-Star weekend is, like, right before my birthday. So that's a little weird in itself. But, yeah, baseball season, like, as much as all the baseball heads always say it's a long season, which is true, that long season flies, especially in the summer when, even though it's the only game in town, like, you're out, like, with barbecues, pool parties. Luckily, for the most part, there's always a game on and you can always catch it. But then you realize, oh, wait, we just passed the All-Star break.
Right.
The trade deadline is just a few weeks away.
Uh-huh.
Then after that, you start to hear about magic numbers and all that. So guess what? We're in the home stretch now, people. Like, and as much as we're at the halfway point, soon enough we're gonna be at the home stretch.
Yes, we are.
So it's exciting to like think about. And again, we'll break down the teams and stuff, but I believe we want to talk about like All-Star weekend and like just kind of notables and stuff first.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the All-Star weekend. We've officially passed both the Home Run Derby and the MLB All-Star Game, taking place from Miami. The American League defeated the National League in extra innings by, I believe it was 2-1.
That's correct.
2-1. And the one thing that really struck me about that game was the fact that, you know, we've heard all of this talk about how much the home run number has gone up, that now everyone and their mother hits home runs. And maybe it has something to do with the players juicing. Maybe it has something to do with the balls getting juiced. Who the hell knows at this point what it could be? But I think the All-Star game, in a way, kind of showed us that, as the old saying goes, good pitching beats good hitting.
Yeah. And it was weirdly refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, like another saying that you kind of forgot to mention, which I always find funny, but it always gets brought up, is, of course, chicks dig the long ball. Which, hey, everybody digs the long ball. Everybody wants to see home runs. That's why late 90s, early 2000s baseball was such a big boom. Now, obviously, there were questionable methods, we'll say.
Correct.
But so that's always going to be at least a little tainted. But when we were in the moment watching McGuire and Sosa chase each other, watching Bonds chase history in one way or another, watching even as far back as just a few years ago when Josh Hamilton took the home run derby by storm, at that moment, you don't think about that. You're just in awe of these human beings with these monstrous feats, just smacking balls hundreds and hundreds of feet that it's almost like Herculean, those feats.
Yeah, and it's kind of fitting too that we went from a home run derby where one man and one man alone hit 3 home runs over 500 feet.
I think it was 4.
4? Might have been 4.
Yeah. But yeah, like
to
Aaron
a game where
Judge.
Aaron Judge, and then you go from that to a game where there's 2 home runs, but there's also only 3 combined runs on the board in 10 innings.
Yeah. All right. Wait. You still there?
Yeah.
Okay. You froze on my screen for a sec, so I didn't know if you were finished your point. So I didn't
Sorry
want
about
to.
that. Technical
No, it's all right.
difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi gets kind of weird on both our ends. But anyway, but no, and yeah, I mean, talking about the home run derby, it was crazy. Like everyone was talking, all right, Stanton and Judge in the final, Stanton and Judge in the final. There's almost no comparison. Stanton didn't get out of the first round. Now, there's some like things in there you could pin it on too, because the Marlins didn't get back to Miami till about 3 a.m. because of the travel delay. So Stan's going to deny it, but that possibly could have had effect on him. But when Stanton got upset in the first round by Gary Sanchez, who is no slouch, by the way. Like,
no,
I know,
and he was looked at as like not really a dark horse, but kind of an unknown because he's not really a power guy.
Yeah, like he happened to hit home runs a lot in the second half, but he's not like Stanton where you come up and everybody's looking, saying, okay, how far is he going to hit it?
Right.
If he hits the home runs, he hits the home runs. But yeah, again, it's a different case. So when he came out and he did that, that was impressive enough. But then slowly but surely, it became the Aaron Judge show. And honestly, that could make at least me happier, because here's a new young face of this game stepping up and just taking the spotlight. He's already breaking records left and right. Already broke Joe DiMaggio's season record.
Keep in mind it's the All-Star break.
For Yankee rookies, which is hard to say, because DiMaggio's record, I believe, was 29. Judge, or maybe even lower. Judge is at 30.
Correct.
At the All-Star break. So if he keeps it up, he could get into like Roger Maris territory, which is scary.
Yeah.
But I mean, but this young kid, I don't know exactly how old he is, but just steps up and just makes that stage his own. And if it wasn't already cemented before with his first half play, that was him it was basically his coming out party saying,
right,
here I am, world. Like, basically, he is the face of the New York Yankees now. And like now he's one of even the young faces of baseball because of that performance. If he can maintain that, that's incredible. That it's really remarkable that like we're going to be telling our grandkids and even great grandkids about Aaron Judge, like his rookie year, just stepping up and owning Major League Baseball. But we'll get to him more in a second, at least a little later on. As far as the All-Star game itself, a couple points, and I know I'm kind of rambling here, but one, like, yes, it was 2-1, it was competitive, but I like that good pitching shine through, because I think that shows that, like, because there is good pitching. Like, pretty much every team has at least 1 or 2 arms, whether it's in the rotation and or in the bullpen, that can throw 100 miles per hour now.
Right.
You didn't see that as little as 5 years ago.
Nope.
So you're seeing how pitchers are evolving. Now, high ball speeds, like 100 mile per hour fastballs, I think are part of the reason that you're seeing so many home runs, because
absolutely,
balls that could be pop flies in some ballparks are home runs and others.
Correct. I mean, look at parks like Coors Field and Yankee Stadium and
Coors Field. It's more like with where it is, but yeah, like Yankee Stadium, short porch, Citizens Bank Park, short porch. Like that's a hitter's
Great American
park.
Ballpark. Yeah, it's the
Exactly.
same thing.
Yeah. So because of that, I think the All-Star game showed a good balance in the game with that. That most of the game's top hitters, like all these great hitters in one place, they can only manage 3 runs off of each other's pitching staffs, which in a way is kind of a good thing. And you mentioned 2 home runs. We got to mention, like, first, and this kind of ties into my second point of, like, this game just being fun, which is what it's supposed to be. I know it doesn't count anymore. I don't really care about that.
I never liked the fact that it counted.
Yeah, like, I
Although,
like that.
I am an advocate of it counting for fantasy.
Different story for a different day.
Correct.
I don't really have an opinion on that either. But but what was the same? But like the guys just going out there, just having fun, being themselves, because of course we talked a little bit before about like guys, like whether it's backflips or whatever, the old guard comes down, oh, they're disrespecting the game, blah blah blah. You gotta let these guys have a little bit of fun, and they were able to do that. Like, it was cool to have players be interviewed on the field.
Hell, I mean, you look at freaking Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz, and I was going to get to that. Like,
pausing the game.
Nelson, to get a picture with Joe West of all people.
Cowboy.
That was awesome. Yes, and also too, for him to tell Yadier Molina to take the picture, and Yadi's like, oh, okay, sure. Like, and speaking of Yadier Molina, like, he's been to 8 All-Star games, and Mike Lowell touched on this in MLB Tonight last night. The way he was acting and, like, having fun out there, you would have thought it was his first.
I know.
Like, from his introductions when he pulled the Puerto Rican flag out of his cap and got an ovation, to coming up, like, when Francisco Lindor came up to bat, like, he gave him a big hug because obviously they were Puerto Rican teammates in the World Baseball Classic. And then Yachty hits his home run to tie the game for the National League. He's pointing. He's having a good time around the bases. Passes Francisco Lindor, who takes his glove and hits him over the back with it. Like, laughing the entire time. Like, just Yachty just having fun. And again, that's really what, like, this is about. And, like, that's what sports are supposed to be about. Like these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. Like, let them enjoy playing the game they played ever since they were kids.
Let them be themselves.
Yes.
Like, I'm tired
100%.
I'm tired of players trying to be somebody that they're not because of the team that they play for.
Yeah, like, they're just out there having a good time, like, enjoying the moment. So it was cool to see Yachty enjoying that moment so much. It was cool to see Bryce Harper, when he was getting interviewed, talk to Joe Buck about football. Even though it was about the Dallas Cowboys, but it was cool to see him, like, just be like, oh, how do you think, like, Dak and all them are going to look this year? Because, like, it's like, I mean, it doesn't count anymore. And, like, it was cool to see, like, Ken Rosenthal and Tom Verducci interviewing guys, like, in the on-deck circle.
Hell, I mean, even freaking, as much as I don't like A-Rod.
Yeah,
A-Rod interviewed the entire infield.
Yeah, like, and then we got to get to our MVP too, Robbie Cano.
Yeah.
Showing that, yeah, guess what? He's still, maybe not as much, but still an impressive player and is writing his resume for Cooperstown.
I was about to, that was going to lead me to a question. You see him in Cooperstown?
Absolutely. Because for a time period, he was one of the at least top 2 second basemen in Major League Baseball, right there neck and neck with Chase Utley. Because those were really the top 2 second basemen of that era. Like,
I hate to say it, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, and Utley battled injuries too, but for the most part, it was those 2 who were the real consistents in each league at second base. Because Chase Utley, keep in mind, Chase Utley started a few games for the Phillies at second base in the All-Star game.
Yes, they did. Yes, he did. I mean,
so, but yeah, with Robbie being a World Series champion, I believe he's won some Gold Gloves, All-Star Game MVP. Now,
he's always had one of the smoothest swings in baseball. That's not even a question.
yeah, that and like you talk about good role models too. Like, there's your guy too. Like, there's a guy just who pretty much every time he's on the diamond just smiles from ear to ear. You can tell he's just having fun again, having fun
And
playing the game, and that's huge. And to go from a big market like New York to at least a little bit of a lesser market like Seattle, like
for that big of a contract, and a
yeah,
lot of people said that that big contract is going to kill him. Seattle's going to kill him. First 2 years, okay, he didn't have great years. It's obvious. His third year, he bounced back, and now this year, he's really bouncing back to a point where he's the All-Star Game MVP. For a guy that wasn't even voted in as a starter, didn't even make it as a reserve, he made it in as a replacement.
Yes.
For somebody in the All-Star Game.
And he steps up and hits the clutch home run in extra innings to go ahead.
That
if
right
the American
there,
League was the home team, that's a walk-off.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the National League had a chance at that. But somebody on my New York Mets, as you can see,
I wonder who it could be, considering he was the only Mets representative.
Gee, I wonder. It wasn't Cespedes or Bruce. Oh, man. Yeah, Conforto. Conforto, I mean,
yeah,
he had the single. He got selected to the All-Star game. Good for him, I guess. The Mets needed somebody. So
same thing with me and Pat Neshek, buddy.
Pat Neshek, and even the Padres with Brad Hand.
Yeah,
Brad.
I was surprised it was Brad Hand over Will Myers, but I mean the NL was also stacked at first baseman too. So
I think that first base in general was stacked.
Absolutely.
So, but kind of going back to Cano a little bit. He's 5 home runs away from 300. He's always consistent. Has slick defense, a smooth swing, excuse me. And there was a point on MLB Network earlier today that I want to point out. There's a lot of talk about, he's not exactly he's kind of lazy. A lot of people have said that. But not many people can go out there every year and play 159, 160, 161, 162 games. And yet he's done that every single year he's played. So, yeah, he's lazy. Yeah, he's got those moments of being lackadaisical. Everybody does. Even the best of the best have moments like that. Yes. But if he can give you 160 games, sometimes more than that, a year of consistency, of solid defense, of clutch offense, of a leader, a role model on the team, what more can you ask for? Especially a team like Seattle that has taken so much crap for so many years, ever since 2001. 2001 was the last time they made the playoffs.
Yes.
They've had a couple chances in the past couple of years to make the playoffs. They even have a small chance this year if they can somehow come back in the wild card. But you need a player like that to set the example, to be the locker room leader, to be the clubhouse leader, to the guy that goes out there and competes every single freaking day. He's that guy.
Yeah. He's 100% that guy.
He's always been, even when he was with the Yankees. Was he the role model? No, it was clearly Jeter. That's obvious. Yeah. But he went to Seattle and became, in my opinion, a bigger star for a smaller market team, making a lot of money on a big contract, and he's living up to the contract. And again, not many people can say they live up to a big contract, yet he has.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make with Jeter, especially considering, obviously he's basically God to anybody who roots for the New York Yankees, and pretty much rightfully so. There's Derek Jeter pretty much every day putting on that number 2 uniform for the Yankees, every day coming up the back, getting a standing ovation, every day going to work, even if he was a little overrated on defense. Yeah, I said it.
And no, you're right.
And he still put in the work. So, yeah, compared to Derek Jeter, yeah, he might have had his moments of laziness and all that. We all would, because I don't know if anybody outworked Derek Jeter on that diamond when he played.
I don't think so either.
It's tough to say. But I mean, look at Robbie's accolades: 8-time All-Star, of course, now winning an MVP, 2-time Gold Glover, 5-time Silver Slugger, and 2009 World Series champion,
and 2017 All-Star Game MVP.
Yes. So again, like, that sounds like a resume worthy of Cooperstown. First ballot? We'll see when he gets there.
Yeah, because keep in mind, how old is he? I think 33.
Baseball Reference does not say. Oh wait, service time 11.153, free agent in 2024.
He's 34.
Yes. Oh yeah, there it is, right in front of my face.
So
yes,
he signed this 10-year deal 2014. He gives us 3 or 4 more years like this year. First ballot, not even a question.
Yeah. And again, he's going to get in eventually. I
Absolutely.
think absolutely. It's and again, he deserves it.
I think another guy that kind of falls into that category of kind of being that role model, playing the game well, being consistent, even though this team has been bad for a while. They've had a couple of playoff runs, but they haven't really been successful with them. It's got to be Joey Votto. And this guy is around the same age as Cano. And every year it seems he gets better as he gets older. And to me, he's got the numbers for Cooperstown. Especially if you
striking out.
He hates striking out.
It's so funny to see him choke up when he's down 2 strikes.
Yep.
How far he chokes up on that bat. He will take a pop out to second base every time if it means he does not strike out.
And you can tell he hates strikeouts because he walks 100 times every year. How many players do that?
Yeah. I mean, he is the cornerstone for that franchise. There's no question about it. Made the All-Star team this year, again, deservedly so. So, yeah, like, I of course, I've always been a big Joey Votto supporter, and again, like, even with that big contract, like, he's a reliable, very reliable, very consistent hitter, which if you're going to pencil him number 3 in your lineup every day, which the Reds do, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about another guy like Cano that signed a big time contract, has lived up to it. But so yeah, we've covered the All-Star game, covered the Home Run Derby. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for some awards.
Yay!
Because we are midway through the season, and thus it's time to look back at all the great moments, memories, and players and teams and games that have happened so far, to kind of recap what we've seen and to kind of look at what is to come in the next couple of months, the rest of July, August, September, going into the playoffs. So, you ready? As he's sipping his drink.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Where do you want to start?
Alrighty. I mean, we can kind of start with the easy ones. Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year. I mean,
should we couple MVP there too? I feel like we kind of have to.
All right, for American League, yes. For National League, I have.
Are we going league by league, or are we going just award by award?
We can go award by award because I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, all right. So what do you want to start with? So Rookie of the Year?
American League Rookie of the Year. I mean,
1, 2, 3. Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge.
Yeah, this isn't
Greg Bird. I'm just kidding.
This isn't fair. I mean, I'm gonna pull up his numbers anyway, although I doubt anybody has to.
I mean, I just the two numbers that pop up to me right away. It's the All-Star break. He's got 30 home runs and an OPS of 1.1 plus.
Yes.
Those two right there, kind of deserving of Rookie of the Year, because considering there aren't really a lot of rookies that have matched up to his stuff.
The only rookie that I think would come close right now to competing air quotes, heavy air quotes, with him in the American League is Trey Mancini, who's having a decent year with the Orioles, but like
But even
obviously,
he's mostly been a DH. So
yeah,
the
but
old school. I know the old school people who hate the DH.
no, but like I'm saying, like when we talk about Aaron Judge, we ain't talking about his fielding.
Oh no, I mean, don't get me wrong, his fielding's solid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like this has to be unanimous. This has to be every single writer voting.
I gotta say,
Come the end of October, Aaron Judge.
like, unless roles reverse and Judge has a poor second half and Mancini just tears it up in the second half,
yeah,
I think it's unanimous. I'd be stunned if it wasn't unanimous.
Yeah, if it's not unanimous, you've got to hunt down some voters at that point because
At that point, like, you really need to put all the voters together and really reconsider who you have casting those votes.
yes. So, but yeah, Aaron Judge, American League Rookie of the Year. Mark it, stamp it, send it in. Carve his name on the trophy now.
Agreed. Perfect. Just give him the trophy now. The season's not even over yet.
Yes.
I guess we can go to National League Rookie of the Year, and again, this one's pretty easy.
1, 2, 3. Cody
Bellinger. Paul Sewald. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I was amazed I could pull Trey Mancini's name out of my head for the AL comparison. For the NL, I don't know who you compare because Cody Bellinger gets called up and just goes after it, which is an understatement to really say the least when it comes to what he's been doing so far this year. 2.61 batting average, 25 bombs, 58 RBI, OPS of 9.961. When I talk about him a little later, spoiler alert, I'll talk more in depth about like the timing of when he came into the lineup and what it could mean for the Dodgers in the future. But I mean, it says a lot when your Rookie of the Year comes in and the guy who like comes in like at first to like fill a DL spot for a little bit and then becomes the lightning rod of your team. Really gives your team that energy of, all right, yeah, let's go get it. So,
and for a guy
Cody Bellinger,
for a guy who came in just as an injury replacement, and now he's the next big thing on the Dodgers team. Thankfully, the Dodgers are starting to get a little bit younger, so that's good with guys like Seager and guys like Bellinger. Because
Turner's still pretty young too.
Who'd you say?
Turner is still kind of youngish.
Turner, yeah. I mean, Puig, even though Puig, he's still relatively young as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's only really two other guys that could potentially be considered, but you're not going to get a lot of non-first place votes for Bellinger. The other two guys I had were Josh Bell of the Pirates and Jesus Aguilar of the Brewers. That's really all I can think of. There's also Ian Happ of the Cubs. I'm pretty sure these voters are probably going to put a Cub in, but we'll see.
Yeah, obviously, again, this is Cody Bellinger's award to lose, and
Correct.
I don't think he's going to lose it.
No, I don't think so either. I guess we can go to managers.
Sure, bud.
All right, let's go to managers. American League. I know you had one that you mentioned.
I was going to say, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first because I have a little outside of the box.
Oh, yeah, you told me this one. And
yeah.
I'm interested to hear it because I like your points on it. But my AL Manager of the Year so far is Paul Molitor of the Minnesota Twins. Because, I mean, the easy answer is A.J. Hinch. Because obviously the Astros are the best team in baseball right now. No one can debate that. But to me, the manager and like really the coach of the year award in all sports, to me, that's not about like the guy who happens to coach the championship team and happens to push the right buttons.
It's the guy who keeps the team together.
Yes, it's the guy who kind of can lead a team from out of nowhere. Like,
correct.
when Terry Francona won it last year for the AL, right?
For Cleve, yeah, I believe so.
I was gonna say if he didn't, well, he should have because like
Yeah, Francona won it for the AO, and Dave Roberts won it for the NL.
yes, because like last year with Francona, like people expected he needs to be good, but no one really expected them to take that next step and
No.
be as good as they were, and that was because of Terry Francona. So I'm glad he got that last year, which again I believe he did. But so for me right now, Paul Molitor is somehow keeping this Minnesota Twins team in it, which obviously the Twins have their bright spots. They have Miguel Sano, who's really having an underrated year. They have Irvin Santana, who could really be considered a Cy Young candidate right now. They have Brian Dozier, who, if he has a second half like he did last year, is just going to be another force on this team. But most importantly, they have Paul Molitor, who is making that lineup every day and making those choices. So because of that, and since again, it's July and the Twins are still there.
Yeah.
Like they're in second place right now. They're how many games back? They're
They're
2.5.
In the wild card, they're one.
Yeah, in the wild card they're one. In the division they're 2.5 games back. So if they stay around there, then to me, Paul Molitor deserves AL Manager of the Year.
Well, before the season started, I kind of mentioned that there were 3 teams that I had zero expectations for. One of them was the White Sox. One of them was the A's. One of them was the Rays. My pick for AL Manager of the Year is Kevin Cash for proving me wrong. Because right now...
Wait, I don't think that's the person you told me.
I didn't tell you.
Oh, because I thought you said Ned Yost when we were talking before we
went
on air.
I brought up Ned Yost for a reason, because...
Throw me off?
To throw you off, A. But to be fair, yeah, Ned Yost is a great candidate, too, because you looked at the Royals back in April, and everyone counted them out.
Yeah, we did.
You look at the Royals right now, they're a game and a half behind in the wild card. They're in third place in the AL Central, but not far behind.
3 games.
But my pick is Kevin Cash, because, I mean, the Rays currently hold the second wild card spot, and it's the All-Star break.
Get that, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, we keep forgetting that Rays and their main man Logan Morrison and Evan Longoria and all these veterans, along with the young players that they have, like Archer and Dickerson, they're holding down the fort. They don't have the most talented roster in baseball, yet they're in the playoff hunt. Yet they're the second wild card. Yet they're actually tied with the Yankees, I believe. Wait. Yeah, I think they're tied because, well, I mean,
the Rays 3.5 games back of the Red Sox in first.
So yeah, they are tied because the Rays have more wins, but they also have more losses than the Yankees. So they're both. Let me just say this: this is a team. When I went in, I thought they were going to be sellers, even though they did make some moves in the offseason to get Wilson Ramos, even though he missed a lot of time with injury. They made some moves. They kept Logan Morrison, made some minor adjustments. They weren't really going to be much. I expected them to be the 5th team in a 5-team division, and here they are in the All-Star break in a wild card spot.
Yeah, and the funny thing with the Rays, too, is like you mentioned it a little bit, but they have pieces, and it's guys like Dickerson, who starts the All-Star game as DH. Even a guy like Tim Beckham, who quietly is having a pretty good year. Malik Smith, who when he gets on base, guess what? He's got Billy Hamilton-like speed. He's probably going to steal a base.
Yeah.
Like, they have these guys who maybe they're not the brightest stars, but guess what? They know their role. And if they can be that machine like they were, I don't know, when they made the World Series in 2008, hey, guess what? It ain't crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good pick. If the Rays keep it up, I like that pick. I really do.
I do too. I mean, I think that they still need production out of Ramos. I know he's still coming back from injury, so it might take a little bit. But luckily they have him for 2 years, so even if he doesn't produce this year, he'll be back next year.
Oh
So,
yeah, like Wilson Ramos. Like if he comes back and he's Wilson Ramos when he was with the Nationals, that's comeback player of the year right there.
right there, yep. And you still have Chris Archer, who may not be an ace, but he's their ace, who can strike out 200 plus batters, who can pitch a quality start pretty much every game.
Yeah, and sorry to kind of cut you off, but like
Yeah.
it's cool to see him like adjust to like a leader on that team too. Remember just a few years ago, he was just that young kid. Like
he was just there.
Yeah, like when I remember at first when he was first debuting, he would strike guys out and he would kind of do a little thing, and like people kind of raised their eyebrows at it. Like,
Yeah.
like obviously again with the old baseball heads, like, oh, what's this guy about? But he is their pitching leader and one of their clubhouse leaders, him along with Evan Longoria. And it makes perfect sense because kind of like how David Price eventually rose to become their leader, it's kind of a similar ascent.
And keep in mind, they're also doing this too without Kevin Kiermaier, who's, their Gold Glove out.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a big loss for the Rays, and yet they're winning without him. So once he comes back, if they could continue the role that they're on, even if they don't make the playoffs, I can still see them fighting to the end.
And that's good for baseball.
That's good for baseball. That's good for the city of Tampa, because let's be honest, the Rays organization isn't exactly the best in baseball. But they all have their roles, and if they all succeed in them, could be a dark horse team down the road.
Since I know the Phillies are out of it, the Rays are definitely going to be one of those dark horse teams that I root for, where like I hope they are as successful as they can be.
Absolutely. And even I mentioned this earlier, like there's the three teams that I kind of expected to be out of it already.
Yeah.
In the American League, when it comes to the wild card, no one's necessarily out of it.
Yeah.
Because the White Sox and A's, they're the last two teams, and they're only 7.5 back. That's not that bad.
And both of those teams have had stretches this year where they've looked at least decent.
And it's not like the A's don't have talent. I mean, you have
home run
hitter Chris Davis, and you have the White Sox who had, Jose Abreu and Jose Quintana. They have an outfield full of Garcias.
Yes, they do.
Avisail Garcia, who's been having an all-star year.
Yes, he has.
Even a team like the Tigers, you can tell that their best days are behind them. They're still only 6.5 back. The Blue Jays are only 5 back. The Orioles, who ever since that hot start have just plummeted down, are still only 5 back.
The American League is going to be the league to watch in the second half.
Definitely. And a lot of these records don't exactly look the prettiest, but it could still be a fun division down the stretch. A fun league, I mean.
Absolutely. So let's get to our next award, shall we?
Yeah. NL Manager of the Year?
That's right. I forgot we had 2 leagues. I'll go first again. I have a tie. I have the 2 managers in the NL West on playoff teams not named Dave Roberts. So I have Bud Black and Torey Lovello, however you may say his name.
I think it's Lavulo, but
the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, yes. Because again, these 2 teams, they're kind of fading off a little bit, at least a little bit now, with the Dodgers having the lead in the NL West. But for the first few months of the season, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks were the 2 teams to watch, because they went out there and they said, hey, watch us. So because of that, again, it's the case of managers pushing the right buttons. I know the Rockies, their pitching staff is faltering a little bit now, showing a bit of cracks, but for the first few months of the season, they were the surprise of really the entire league, because as we've beaten this point to death, Coors Field is where pitching goes to die.
Yeah.
But Bud Black pitching-minded former Major League pitcher, Bud Black, I think has gotten into their head saying, look, we're not using that excuse anymore of, oh, Coors Field is a hitter's park. We're not going to be okay with just giving up a lot of runs at Coors Field anymore. So guess what? They go out there wherever they go, and those pitchers follow his lead. And sometimes a change of voice is all you need. So with that said, like, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, of course, fell off a lot last year, but now with, again, obviously Goldschmidt's the model of consistency, Robbie Ray pitching well, Greinke looking like he's returning to form. Lavulo absolutely is the reason for that. It's refreshing for teams to have new voices in that dugout sometimes. And that's the case a lot of times in sports too. It's refreshing when you get a new voice and something clicks for a guy, you know?
Right.
Or in this case, a team.
So yeah, National League, I actually didn't mention this to you earlier. So another little surprise in store. It's the complete opposite case when I talked about the American League and how, you know, in the wild card, every team is pretty close. In the National League, it's completely different. The Cubs, who are the closest to the National League wild card, are 7.5 back. So what a difference one league makes. But
yeah,
with that said, for a while, the NL Central looked really close. As of late, it's looking like a one-team division, and my NL Manager of the Year is Craig Counsell, because the Brewers are 9 games over 500, holding down the fort in first place. The Cubs are 5.5 back, and the Brewers aren't exactly they don't exactly have the best roster in baseball, but they have one of the best offenses in baseball. All thanks to guys like Eric Thames and guys like Jesus Aguilar, guys like Ryan Braun, even though he's been hurt. You got Keon Broxton in the lineup. You know,
Hernan
Perez. Jonathan VR is having a little bit of a down year, but he can still steal some bases.
Yeah.
You know, it's not exactly the most loaded roster, and yet here they sit in first place with teams like the defending World Series champion Cubs, the St. Louis Cardinals, who for years, like you kind of said, have been that boring model of consistency.
Hashtag it.
You also have teams like, you know, the Pirates and the Reds, who as recently as 3 or 4 years ago were fighting in the playoffs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the Milwaukee Brewers just out of nowhere in first place. And a lot of that has to do with Craig Counsell.
I mean, you talk about a player's manager. Craig Counsell wasted little time retiring from the game and becoming a coach and eventually becoming the manager of that team. And obviously, and like when he was a player in Milwaukee, he was a fan favorite. Now, part of that was because of that stance. I mean, how can you not love that stance? I love it. Like, it was the accordion stance.
It was hysterical watching him bat.
Oh, yeah. But he was really a man of the people in that thing. Like, they loved him. And when he got the manager's job, everyone just went, yeah, sounds about right.
See, even when he was a player, like, he was never the best player.
He was always a bench guy. He was a platoon guy.
He was a bench guy, but he was also a leader.
Oh, yeah. Like, he was a staple in that clubhouse for years. So it makes perfect sense for him to jump to that managerial role. And again, like, everybody respects him because they know he's been through the grind. They know he knows what it takes to be on at least a somewhat successful team, because when the Brewers had that big run in the playoffs a couple years ago, he was there.
Absolutely.
So now at that point, he was basically the 25th man on the 25-man roster.
Correct.
But he was there. He was that grizzled veteran in that clubhouse. The guy to kind of like, if guys like Nyjer Morgan, who was on the team at that time, were kind of getting a big head, Craig Counsell would be the guy to kind of pull him down, be like, yo, man, take it easy. Like, because this game humbles you. So Craig Counsell is a very humble guy, and again, a very, very smart baseball guy. So him jumping, when I heard he was named manager of the Brewers a couple years ago, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And like you said, man, like, they may not have the best roster, but they're winning the games and in a dumpster fire of a division.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that I'm saying that for teams like the Cubs, who won the World Series a year ago, and the Cardinals, who have been there every year.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right.
You know, it seems like the era of that boring model of consistency are over. And it looks like,
Maybe.
well, for now, at least. And it also looks like that World Series hangover is really taking its toll. Because
Same
the
thing with the
Cubs,
Red Sox in 2005, man.
correct. The Cubs are 2 games under 500 at the break.
Yep.
And 5.5 back in the division. I mean, I know we still have July, August, and September, but time's running out. Time's ticking. Clock is ticking on your season.
It's no longer an excuse of it's still early.
Yeah, it's no in May. I'm sorry, in May that excuse is gone. That, at least to me. Like, once you get past April, like it's game time. Like, you better be on your game. All right, well, let's
Next award. So much for us being done by 11:30, pal.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't care. Our viewers are gonna care, but I don't care.
I don't care either. I mean, I'm sure our 0 viewers are probably like,
Well, when our friends watch this back.
Yeah, you guys better watch this. Oh, by the way, I hope all of you like my my little set in the back. I've got my wrestling side and my baseball side, all my trophies.
Why is Chipper Jones on your wrestling side?
Well, the wrestling side minus Chipper Jones. There we go. But it's funny because that trophy right there, the big one, is not even mine.
That's awesome.
It's my dad's soccer trophy. He used to be a goalie.
It's all right. I'm on my mom's scrapbooking table right now. So what's the next award, Matthew?
I'm going to go with comeback players. And for the National League.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I might have to remember. We were unanimous for National League.
For National League, well, go ahead and say it then.
1, 2, 3, Ryan Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman, correct. But I had 2 other options as well. First one's Robbie Ray, because All-Star, number 1. He's dropped his ERA 2 whole points. His strikeout totals, he's about to match and exceed his levels from last year. Yeah. He still does walk a lot. His whip is a little bit above what it should be. But if he can cut down his walks, he's got everything else. And another one on that Diamondbacks team that could qualify as a good comeback is their ace, Zach Greinke.
Absolutely.
And I kind of talked about this with you earlier. Greinke and even guys like David Price, last year, a lot of people looked at their years as bad years. And to me, they were down years. That's obvious. David Price is still trying to figure out his place on the Red Sox this year. Zach Greinke, meanwhile, has turned it around. But even looking back at last year, sure, you can say they were down years, but I wouldn't exactly call them bad years.
Oh, yes, there's a difference between a down year and a bad year. You were 100% right. That a lot of times those get morphed into one.
Yeah, a bad year would be going from like a 2 ERA to a 5 ERA.
Yes.
A 2 ERA to a 3 ERA that's not a bad year at all. In an era where it's all about home runs and offenses at one of the all-time high and everything like that. I mean, June I think broke the record for most home runs in a month.
Mm-hmm. Ever.
And here's Zach Greinke, finding his form again. So good for him for coming back. But Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah, let's break down these numbers. Here in year 2017, 3.30 batting average, 19 home runs, 63 RBI. And just to compare from like last year, his batting average last year was 218.
Yeah. You said that very slowly. RBI.
Yeah, I know. I was scrolling down.
Sounded like a robot. He
Beep
has
boop boop.
RBI.
Beep boop boop has a lot of heart. Is the pillar of their franchise. But hey,
Jesus.
but that's true. Ryan Zimmerman has literally been with the Nationals since day one.
Correct.
So because of that, like obviously the Nationals have so many key pieces, which is why when I reveal my pick for NL MVP later, it's not gonna spoiler, it's not Ryan Zimmerman. Because the Nationals have so many pieces, so many outstanding pieces.
And it's also not going to be the guy that shares your name.
Right, I absolutely. It's not gonna be young Bryce. But
Young Bryce.
but the fans in DC love Ryan Zimmerman, and again, with good reason.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, he's the pillar of that franchise. To move from third base to first base just to stay on this team and to get good enough at first base, the fact that he makes it as an all-star when a lot of people were like unsure of where he was going to be this year. This is his first time being an all-star since 2009.
Yeah.
So, and like he said himself on MLB Network, he's like, a lot's changed in that time. But he's like, but I'm happy to be here. And yeah, he deserves to be there because we talked earlier about leaders in the clubhouse. Yeah, Ryan Zimmerman, I put him as the leader of the Nationals clubhouse.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't think it's debate.
No. He's pretty much their glue. Even though he's dealt with injuries in the past couple years, he's always been that leader that the Nationals have needed. You know, even though they have stars like Harper and Murphy and, you know, guys like that, guys like
Scherzer, Strasburg.
And, you know, last year they had Ramos. He's always been that franchise guy, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, and like since he's been like there since day one, he's been with every manager change that team has had. And they've had a few, and also he was there for the Nationals days. Like, let's not forget that Ryan Zimmerman was there for that mishap. Like, he was one of the main players that the camera showed his jersey, and it said Nationals.
Nationals.
It did not say Nationals. It said Nationals.
Oh, man.
So, for good times and bad, Ryan Zimmerman has been a Washington National.
Nationals, baby.
So good for Ryan Zimmerman to be able to really enjoy this comeback year. And if he keeps it up, yeah, he's definitely going to get play for some MVP votes, and he deserves it.
Absolutely. American League, there was a couple that came to mind, I believe.
Yeah, we spat out a couple names.
I think both of them were pitchers.
Yeah,
and both of them played in the same division.
Yeah, so in case y'all haven't figured it out yet, Irvin Santana and Jason Vargas of the Twins and Royals, respectively.
Jason Vargas leading the American League in ERA.
And wins, I believe.
And wins. I think it. Hang on one sec. I could be wrong.
I think that's right.
Yeah, he leads in ERA and wins. Meanwhile, Santana leads in complete games. He has 4.
Right.
But, you know, talking about teams like the Royals and the Twins who, you know, aren't the most star-studded teams. The Royals had a bad start in the beginning. They've now picked it up, and a lot of that has to do with Vargas. Meanwhile, the Twins, it took a while, but it looks like they finally found their ace, and that's Irvin Santana. No question in my mind these two deserve it because Vargas, I believe, if I remember correctly, he's pitched 3 or 4 games combined in the last 2 years, and he comes back this year and leads the American League in 2 of the 3 Triple Crown categories.
Yeah, he's looking pretty dominant. And when he was healthy too, he was always looked at as a decent pitcher.
Yeah.
But never as an ace. So, but I mean, here he is stepping up when obviously the Royals need an ace, which obviously it's unfortunate what happened with Ventura in the offseason.
Yeah.
But someone had to step up. People thought it might have been Danny Duffy, but it's Jason Vargas.
Yeah.
So credit where credit is due. Again, for both these guys. I'm kind of wrapping this one up rather quickly since it's 2 of them, and we're going to talk pitching more a little later on.
Yeah, well, actually, let's go there now. Let's start with the relievers. of the
Okay.
of the first half. There we go. Of the mid season.
Are we going AL or NL first?
Let's go AL. I think for me it's easy. But
We have the same guy, right?
no. I believe you.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
I-
right. That's right. I forgot we had different guys for this one.
Actually, I have someone else, but go ahead.
Speaking of the Minnesota Twins, I have their closer, Brandon Gensler, who is, guess what? He's pitching pretty well. 2.29 ERA, 24 saves. The Twins are always an interesting case when it comes to closers. They've had a couple years where they've had like decent closers. Most notably and recently, who was it again? I'm forgetting his name.
For the Twins?
Yeah, who was their closer?
Glenn Perkins.
Yes. Because Perkins had a year where he was at least decent, then he kind of faded off. But now Kinsler has ascended and taken the role. And again, like one of the key reasons why the Minnesota Twins are still hanging around is because unlike teams like even like the Washington Nationals, who are a big force in the NL but don't have a closer, Brandon Gensler is doing it in Minnesota and having no problems. He was an all-star. So because of that, again, credit where credit is due, especially on a team that remember a couple years ago when the Twins came out of nowhere and were close to making the playoffs.
Oh, that 2015 season. Oh my God.
Stats can't explain it, but now the Twins being a little more consistent this time, and Kinsler is a big reason why. So he is my pick for the current reliever of the year for the American League.
We haven't really talked about the Blue Jays that much. I'm going to go with Roberto Osuna.
Good pick. Good pick.
I mean, here's a guy that he's been dealing with a lot of anxiety issues this season.
Which needs to get more spotlight.
Yeah, it does. Because a lot of people don't realize just how rough that is. And I live with someone who's had panic attacks. So I know what they feel like, and I know the kind of effect they have on people. The thing that strikes me the most is after he's dealt with these issues, he seems to have gotten a lot better. He's dropped his ERA by from a 2.48 to a 2.06 ever since he dealt with those issues. He's been pitching incredibly well for the Blue Jays, which is something that the Blue Jays haven't really had this year, is decent pitching, because Aaron Sanchez has dealt with injuries. They have
J-Hap's been inconsistent.
J-Hap has been inconsistent as well. Stroman's inconsistent as well. Here's this guy on the back end of the bullpen who already is the youngest player to reach 75 career saves. He's probably going to be the youngest player to reach 100. The guy is only 22 years old, so he definitely has.
I always forget he's that young.
Yeah, it's scary to think he's only 22.
Mm-hmm.
He's a year older than me. He's your age.
Well, for now, I turned 23 on Saturday, Bob.
Shut up.
But no,
work with me.
but like I said when you said his name, I really do like that pick because he is a solid reliever. Always really has been, but now him coming into his own, and like just in that division alone, competing with guys like Britton, Chapman, and Kimbrel, like it's a little tough. But when you're the one standing out in that group, or one of the ones standing out in that group, good on you.
Definitely. I mean, you look at guys like Britton, who's been hurt, Chapman, who hasn't really been himself.
Chapman's been hurt a little bit too.
Yeah, he got hurt too. Who was the other guy you mentioned? I just forgot.
Kimbrel.
I mean, Kimbrel has been pitching. Yeah, Kimbrel's been pitching very well. But the Blue Jays this year don't really have that many bright spots. He's been one of their only ones. Because even former MVP Josh Donaldson is only hitting 240 at the All-Star break. He wasn't even an All-Star.
Right.
He's had injuries. Tulo's had injuries. Bautista is older. He's not hitting as well as he should be. Russell Martin's older. He's not really doing that well. Their pitching rotation is far too inconsistent. They lost E5 in the offseason. So it's hard to find bright spots. And when you look at Roberto Osuna, the way he's pitching, number one, and his ability to come back from something as bad as that and come back better than before, that's scary. And that's incredible. And for that, he gets my pick.
Again, man, that's a good pick.
National League.
Am I going first?
I think it's pretty. I think this one we both agreed.
Yeah, although there's debate for it.
Okay.
I went with Greg Holland.
Oh, never mind. We didn't agree.
Oh, yeah, that's great, because you're probably going with the other guy, and there's a good argument for the other guy we talked about earlier. But I'm going with Greg Holland just because. Remember earlier when I said Bud Black has really gotten into these guys' head and basically said, yeah, we're not using Coors Field as an excuse anymore. Just go out there and pitch your game. Greg Holland is really the guy who's taken that most to heart, because Greg Holland, coming out of the woodwork, the Rockies take a flyer on him, and much looking like the steal of the offseason still so far.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because, you look at the offseason and you look at all the free agent closers. You had Melanson, Chapman, and Jansen.
Yeah.
And they all got big money contracts.
Deservedly so.
And then here comes Greg Holland just out of nowhere, signed by the Rockies.
Made that move kind of early, didn't they?
I
forget when they signed him in relation to the other closers, but I want to say they made that move before all three were signed.
They might have. I think you're right. I'd
have to look into that, obviously, but
Let me look that up to be sure.
I want to say they made that move kind of right away. But nevertheless, I'm stalling while Matt's looking this up. But yeah, Greg Holland and really he's another guy we could have mentioned for,
January.
Comeback. When were the others signed?
Oh, God.
Yeah, again, it's a lot, I know. But
thanks a lot.
But the moral of the story is, Greg Holland comes in and really just – it's amazing that he goes in and is the solid back end of that bullpen. Really probably the Rockies' most solid closer since Houston Street when he was there.
I agree. Jansen, January.
Yeah, but we got to start splitting hairs, man.
Melanson, December. Chapman.
I think he signed at the winter meetings or was close to it. So that would have been December too.
Chapman, December. So wrong, but whatever. To be fair, the Rockies weren't going to go after those big names anyway, because they would have never signed with them. And yet Greg Holland did sign with them and is doing relatively well.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I'm going to go with Kenley Jansen. For up until a couple, last week, he didn't walk a batter all year.
That's insane.
That alone puts you at the top.
Yeah, and he's a guy, I have him on my fantasy team, and I'm reaping the benefits because he's doing exactly what the Dodgers signed him to be, and that's just be that lights-out guy in the ninth.
Yep, and he's definitely lived up to the contract. Not many closers get big contracts. He did so far, first year, he's lived up to it.
Couldn't agree more.
So let's go. I guess we can continue with the pitching. And we'll go with Cy Young.
Well, or do you want to do, because I mentioned Unsung Heroes too?
Oh, sure. Let's do that.
Yeah, so I was trying to say earlier, Greg Holland could be considered for that, for the NL, but for NL, and, I'll just spit both mine out too, or, one, and then you can think of another if you want, or, same with another. But for the NL, for Unsung Heroes, I have Anthony Rendon, who I believe made the final vote, if I'm not mistaken, for the All-Star game, but didn't get voted in. But the thing with, the third baseman right now, first and third base, those corners of the infield are stacked in both leagues right now.
Absolutely.
But Anthony Rendon is just such an underrated year, which is bizarre to say when you pull up his numbers.
He did not win the final vote.
Yeah, I knew he was up for it.
He was actually never an all-star, surprisingly.
Right. But, like, really just having a 304 batting average, 16 home runs, 54 RBI.
And honestly, a lot of that had to, and I hate to go back to this because it involves the Mets, but ever since that 3 home run, 10 RBI game,
yeah,
it's pretty much been all systems go for him, which is good.
And some guys excel as being like that, like under the radar guy. And on a team that has Harper, Murphy, Strasburg, Scherzer, etc., it's easy to be that under the radar guy.
Yeah.
So in steps Anthony Rendon, who, especially too, like, Adam Eaton wasn't the most consistent offensive force anyway, but when you lose him for the season, someone's going to step up.
Someone has to step up, yeah.
And there's Anthony Rendon doing it. Do you have anybody else who would be like an NL like unsung hero?
I got to think about it for a sec.
Okay. Then do you want me to say my AL one too?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
And for the American League for unsung hero, I had Moose. Mike Moustakas. Because, again, we mentioned that, surprise, guys, the Royals are in it. And Mike Moustakas is a big reason why. Like, I'm pulling up his stats once I figure out how you spell his last name. There you go. Moustakas. 270 batting average, 25 home runs, 54 RBI, was an all-star. Really just a powerful bat for the Royals. Him along with Eric Hosmer are just two offensive pillars for this team. And again, like, this team, we thought they were in trouble, but they righted the ship, and Moustakas is a big reason why. Like, he really one of the well-hitting third basemen in baseball this year.
Yeah, I've got my 2. They may not be the best options, but looking at some of their numbers, they've definitely done very well. First one for the American League is Carlos Carrasco. I believe last year he dealt with a lot of injuries. This can also count as a comeback. Dealt with some injuries. He missed the postseason, I believe. And that did hurt the Indians, because really the Indians were only relying on 3 starters for the entire playoff run. It would have been nice to have Carrasco with them, or even a guy like Danny Salazar with them, because I don't think he started for them.
No,
I think it was Kluber. It was Kluber, Bauer,
Tomlin.
It might have been Tomlin. Yeah, but he's pitched very well this year. It doesn't really get talked about that much because obviously you have Kluber as your ace. You're not really going to get a lot of mentions for the other guys.
Right.
But looking at his stats, if I could pull them up, just give me one sec. Carrasco, 3.44 ERA. He's got 114 strikeouts in 104 innings. Those definitely are not the worst stats in the world.
Oh yeah, agreed.
For National League, I have Ender Inciarte.
Good pick.
There's not many guys that can excel on defense and offense like he has. Above 300 batting average, a Gold Glove defense, an all-star this year. Again, talking about the Braves, the Braves who for a while were missing Freddie Freeman, even though he's back now, he's a guy that's really stepped up in that lineup. Ender Inciarte, along with Matt Adams, now they have Freddie Freeman back. He's just a fun player to watch because he doesn't always go over the top. He makes the routine plays, and he makes them well. And that's all you need in the lineup. That's all you need in a lineup.
Agreed. I like it.
All right. Cy Young?
Yeah, because, we're Cy Young, team, and MVP. We're the ones we have left, so...
Yep. I think pitching, I love me some Kershaw for the NL, but I think we both agree on this one.
Mad Max?
Mad Max.
Yeah, Max Scherzer, dude's just electric right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as he always is. ERA of 2.10, already 173 strikeouts.
He's got that ruthless aggression.
He's got something, man.
But honestly, he's not even looking at his stats. He's just one of the most ruthless pitchers that I have ever watched. He growls after every pitch, and he pitches with so much intensity that anyone should be scared facing him.
Which leads me to a valuable question / point that we talked about before I came on.
Correct. Yeah.
So last night after the All-Star game, I was watching MLB Network, and Greg Amsinger floated an interesting theory out there. The way Max Scherzer started the All-Star game, pitching that he knew he was only going to pitch one inning, because obviously he did know he was only going to pitch one inning. You mentioned it, just hearing the after every hit, just so intense, and dominant too. He had a 1-2-3 inning and struck out Aaron Judge
for a game that doesn't matter.
Yeah, he wanted to go out there and make a statement against these guys, especially Aaron Judge, who the night before put up a show in the Home Run Derby. But Greg Amsinger floated out an interesting theory, saying, well, the Nationals are looking for a closer. If they acquire maybe a guy who could be number 2 to Strasburg's number 1, would you move Max Scherzer to the closer's role and have him be pretty much like John Smoltz was for the Braves for the few years? That starter turned closer, but was dominant at both ends. So I'm going to ask you, since you're my only audience at this point, would you do it? Would you put Max Scherzer as your closer?
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would too.
In a heartbeat. And it's not even the most, it's not a ridiculous question by any means.
It really isn't.
So a lot of people can say, oh, why would you do that? Why would you take him away from being something that he is? But to be fair, John Smoltz, I mean, they did it with him, and he's kind of a Hall of Famer.
And he was a Hall of Famer at both ends.
At both ends. So here's the thing with the Nationals. They haven't found anybody that can fill that back end of the bullpen. The closest person they have is freaking Oliver Perez. And if he's the closest person that they have,
or Matt Albers.
Run. Matt Albers too. I mean, let's be honest. Their bullpen sucks. The back end of their bullpen sucks more. Max Scherzer, yes, he cost a lot of money. Yes, he's their big money ace. Yes, he's, one of the most ruthless starters in baseball today. But
one of the few pitchers ever to throw 20 strikeouts in a game.
Correct. One of the only pitchers to win a Cy Young Award for both leagues.
Yes.
So, it's not like they don't have pitching depth. They do. They have Gio Gonzalez, who's
who's been pitching very well this year.
Pretty underrated season. You still have Strasburg.
And again, I think it'd be easier for them to go out and get a guy who could be their number 2. You know what I mean?
Hell, look at Jose Quintana. He's been pitching better as of late. So the Nationals, I mean, they've already made some deals with the White Sox. Maybe, obviously, a stupid deal, but they could be trade partners again.
Yeah, hey, if that relationship is good, why not? At this point, because if you don't do it, and that bullpen is the reason that yet again your team falters in the playoffs, you're going to have a much angrier, rabid fan base, and you're also going to have an angry Bryce Harper, who, keep in mind, next year is more than likely going to be his last year as a Washington National.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Mm-hmm. He's going to want to try. He wants to win a ring for that city. And it makes sense because he was a top draft pick for them. So with that in mind, if you're the Nationals, if you're Dusty Baker, if you're Rizzo, Mike Rizzo, whatever his name is,
Mike Izzo Rizzo.
Like, if I'm them, I think about this long and hard and think, you know what? It might be crazy, but it just might work.
I mean,
Because if you go up in the top of the ninth and you got to face Max Scherzer,
yeah.
who hasn't thrown 8 innings to that point, who's intense and just ready to eat you alive, yeah, say your prayers.
I
Because
mean,
he's
even
going to
look,
get 3 outs. He might get 3 strikeouts, and he's going to get a save.
and even looking at it, maybe like from Strasburg's point of view, at some point he's got to pitch in the playoffs.
Oh, and if he stays healthy, he will this year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, he's got one playoff game under his belt.
Yes.
In the how many years?
About 5 at this point. 4 or 5.
Yeah. It would be nice if they can turn to Strasburg in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know how he does in the big game until you go out there and start him.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine having 7 solid innings of work for Strasburg and then a two solid innings of relief for Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, lights out, you win game 1.
At least.
But yeah, it's not the craziest idea in the world. It's actually a great idea.
So I told you, I said I had on my notes for Cy Young, Scherzer, ... unless he closes.
Unless he closes, if that happens, who's your guy? Who would be your Cy Young then?
Oh boy, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I mean, at that point, let's go with the other easy option.
Yeah,
Clayton Kershaw.
It's Clayton Kershaw again.
because surprise, best pitcher in baseball is best pitcher in baseball.
Proud fantasy owner.
More power to you. But like Clayton Kershaw, yeah, there's a reason you pay him a lot of money. There's a reason he's a reliable stud in that bullpen. You know?
Yeah.
Surprise. Clayton Kershaw's having another good year. In other news, sun still shines every day. Grass is still green. Sky is still blue.
Correct.
Clayton Kershaw is good at pitching.
How about the AL?
How about the AL?
Because there
I'm
are
sorry.
a lot of...
Our friend Shady Mike has sent me an all caps PM, so I responded with a question mark. But how about the AL?
We got a lot of new
candidates.
A lot of candidates to choose from. A lot of new people to choose from. And there's 2 that come to mind, but actually no, there's one that comes to mind for me. And I think
do we have the same guy here?
JV.
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned it earlier, but Jason Vargas coming literally out of nowhere, 12-3 record, 2.62 ERA, 78 strikeouts on the year, leads 2 of the 3 triple count round pitching categories. Sounds like a Cy Young to me, wherever he ends up.
Lock it up.
Yeah, I don't think. I hope the Royals aren't sellers at this point because they finally have their momentum going their way. But, I mean, because remember a few months ago we were talking about him being a sell piece?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, hey, he's still pitching well.
I mean, he was an all-star. He leads in 2 of the Triple Crown categories. Yeah. Sounds like a Cy Young Award winner.
Again, we kind of talked about it a lot earlier, but hey, talk about a good story, man. Kind of like when Felix Hernandez, had that Cy Young season. We knew Felix was good, but when he kind of came out and took that thunder that year, we're like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a story similar to that because, again, Jason Vargas, not a young guy anymore by any means, but
No.
When you figure yourself out at this point, there you go.
All power to you. I mean, look at R.A. Dickey. He went all over. His when he signed with, I believe, the Twins, not the Twins, the Rangers, his signing bonus was reduced because he didn't have a UCL in his elbow.
Yeah.
And he went all over the place. He finally discovered the knuckleball, and in his first start using the knuckleball, he gave up 6 home runs. He was a journeyman minor leaguer. Then all of a sudden, the Mets signed him to a minor league deal, and he's one of the best pitchers in the National League, and he wins a Cy Young award.
Yeah.
Look at Jason Vargas now, and you can kind of make the comparison. Now, Vargas has had success in the past. That's not a question. But over the past couple years, he's dealt with injuries. He's played in, I believe, pitched in 3 or 4 games the past 2 years combined. Vargas is definitely taking the league by storm, taking me by storm. I mean, all power to him at this point.
Yeah, like, there are times where the numbers just speak for themselves. And, like, because, like, in a game where, like, we like big personalities and such, too, like, Jason Vargas, he just goes out and pitches.
Exactly. And, I think the one stat that he doesn't have is strikeouts, but sometimes you don't need to win with the strikeout.
Oh, yeah, like, you don't have to go out and try to strike everybody out. If you have strikeout stuff, great, but if you could pitch to contact and get guys to pop up and hit grounders,
exactly,
there you go.
That's all you need. And
that's baseball.
It's showing because he's got the lowest ERA in the AL. So he must be doing something right.
100%.
So let's do MVP, and then we'll finish with team.
And it could kind of lead to, like, maybe, like, World Series predictions and stuff, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. American League MVP.
1, 2, 3. Aaron Judge. This is not up for debate.
Chris Davis. I'm just kidding.
Which one?
The one with a K. You know, the one that's actually playing.
That's a good point. I forgot Big C's hurt. But yeah. When, like, we talked earlier about, like, Triple Crown stats, Aaron Judge is 3rd in the AL in average, leads the AL in home runs with 30, and is 2nd in the AL in RBI with 66. So I want you to imagine this. Aaron Judge not only wins Rookie of the Year, not only wins MVP, but somehow wins the Triple Crown.
All in his first full year.
That has to be the best season ever, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. I would think so.
I mean, like, like, I know, like, people could argue Bonds hitting 73, Ted Williams hitting 400, Miggy hitting for the Triple Crown. People could argue those, but come on. If you get those 2 accolades and a Triple Crown in your first full season, that point can't be argued.
No.
That's literally a triple threat of, oh, yeah, that's probably the greatest hitting season of all time. And, yeah, I know part of it is he's in hitter's paradise in Yankee Stadium. But guess what?
But you know what?
That's the game you play.
It's the game you play, and even if you are in hitter's paradise, you still got to hit the ball.
Yes.
And he has.
And an interesting note that was brought up in the Home Run Derby, like, on his phone, in his notes section, the first note that he has just says 179, which was his average last year when he got called up and struck out pretty much every other at-bat.
Yeah, half of his at-bats, he struck out.
So, have you seen the movie Invincible?
No.
Well, it's about Vince Papale, who walked on to the Philadelphia Eagles when they had open tryouts one year, but there's a key part in the movie where Vince's wife leaves him. I know, spoilers. But when he gets home, she's not there, but she writes on, like, a piece of cardboard. Basically, it was basically something to the tune of, Vince, like, you'll never amount to anything, you're a nobody, blah, blah, blah. Instead of throwing that out or, like, burning it or whatever, he kept that and he put that, like, he had that in his locker to, like, motivate him through training camp to try to make the team. Like, looking at that, just saying, like, no, I am worth something, I am somebody, I'm going to make this team, I'm going to make an impact. Aaron Judge, similar thing, just looking in his phone and seeing. He looks at that every day, 179, because he knows that all this could go away.
It could.
all of it could go away. Like, so many people have just been to the mountaintop and just fallen down for whatever reason.
And
He doesn't want to be that guy.
yeah, and I think another way of looking at this too is, at the end of the day, you could be the last guy on the bench or the MVP of the team. At the end of the day, everyone's replaceable.
Absolutely.
And if you don't do your job, you're done. You're gone.
Mm-hmm. Again, like I said earlier, this game, like, you can either like be humble or it can humble you.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge is already coming in humble. He's not taking anything for granted. He knows that this could all go away. He knows they didn't have to take a chance on him after he hit 179. But they did, and he's making it count, to say the least. So, Aaron Judge, American League, MVP.
Easily. National League MVP?
You going to me again?
Yeah, I have a different one.
Well, like the AL, my NL MVP is also the Rookie of the Year in Cody Bellinger of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Because once he got put into that lineup, when Adrian Gonzalez went on the DL, for the first time in his career, might I add, I'll get back to that in a little bit, but this kid gets called up and he says, "Oh, I'm in the bigs now? Cool." Hit bombs left and right, especially in Dodger Stadium, which is notoriously a pitcher's park. So that's all the more impressive. And once he started hitting, the Dodgers really got fired up and turned their season around. Not that they were bad per se, but they're like, okay, yeah, the Diamondbacks and Rockies, yeah, they had their cute runs. All right, we're going to go and we're going to take back first place now. And a lot of that is because of Cody Bellinger, and especially stepping in for a guy like Adrian Gonzalez, who, again, as I just mentioned, goes on the DL for the first time in his career, which is remarkable because Adrian Gonzalez, yeah, he's been around. And there's a reason for that. He's a good baseball player, and he's well respected. Wherever he's gone, whether it's been San Diego, Boston, or LA, he's been looked at as the respected veteran, consistent guy. I mean, you talk about humble guys. Adrian Gonzalez is up there.
Absolutely.
Like, he's a guy who he goes out there and he plays the game. And he's good at what he does. Obviously, he's slowed down a little bit because of age and now injury. But now, like Cody Bellinger, at first people thought, all right, he's going to hold the spot for a little bit. Maybe he'll stay on the bench or whatever. Yeah, you're not prying Cody Bellinger for that lineup.
Absolutely not.
There's not a prayer.
Like, you will, at the end of the day, like, you will find a position for him, even if it means playing a position he's not comfortable in.
Yeah, does he play outfield? I forget.
He is. I think he's left field and first base.
All right, so maybe you can make that work. Or if you're the Dodgers, if you're looking for maybe like a pitcher or like maybe like a middle, like some reliever guy who's been kind of hot or whatever the case may be, maybe if you're the Dodgers, you float Adrian Gonzalez's name out there if a team needs a first baseman.
Could be an option too. Or even a DH, like in the American League.
Depending, yeah. Like, obviously, that's not a slight on Adrian Gonzalez.
No, absolutely not.
But, like, guess what? If the kid's going to step in and take that spot, because, I mean, I'm sure Adrian Gonzalez would do it, but it feels weird if Adrian Gonzalez is just riding the pine on the way to the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that could be an intriguing trade possibility if Adrian Gonzalez gets dealt somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure you could still get a lot back for him,
or at least maybe like a like kind of lower tier prospect.
Yeah, or a group of them, like
something like that. Yes.
Adrian Gonzalez can still get it done. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a matter of where he winds up. I mean, there's definitely teams that could use him, but who knows? I mean, maybe they do just ride with him in left field. Maybe they switch him to right field. Who knows at this point? Or maybe, second base is a little bit weak. Make him a second baseman. I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
At the end of the day, the Dodgers are going to find a spot for him because there's absolutely no way you're stopping him.
Yeah, and that's why, at least as of right now, again, I know there's arguments for other guys, but Cody Bellinger is my NL MVP.
And Joey Votto is mine.
That's a bold pick. I like it, but it's a bold pick.
I'm going to get a lot of hate because, oh my God, last place team. Oh my God, Joey Votto is not Cody Bellinger, blah, blah, blah. Home runs aren't everything, folks. And even though Votto does co-lead the NL with 26 of them, he's also done a lot of other things too. He's an extra base hitter. He's clutch. He's consistent. He has a solid glove. He walks a ton, and he strikes out less than he walks. Less frequently than he walks. So it's definitely worthy of being considered for NL MVP. You can shove the last place crap wherever you want, but it's the most valuable player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little different from a few years ago when Matt Kemp should have beat out Ryan Braun for it.
Correct. I still agree with that.
Oh, absolutely, he should have. But obviously history is what it is. I wouldn't hate it if he won it. I doubt he's going to because of he's had a good year, and maybe if the Reds were a tad bit more competitive, he'd get more play. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't hate Joey Votto. And speaking of the Reds, real quick too, I'm surprised we both forgot to mention too for like unsung heroes. How about Zach Cozart?
Yeah, all-star
starting shortstop. How about that guy who's going to get a donkey?
By God!
Thank you, Joey Votto.
Oh, my God.
But
and that's another reason why I love Joey Votto. Yeah,
quirky humor, man.
Yeah, he's serious about the game, which is great. But he's also hysterical.
Oh, he's so funny. And again, it's just that weird Canadian sense of humor that like
exactly
not everyone's gonna get it. I mean, obviously you and I are wrestling fans, so like Chris Jericho comes to mind.
Right.
It's the same thing. And Chris Jericho says that a lot. Like it's that just Canadians will have that quirky sense of humor where like they'll say something and other Canadian people will laugh, or like people who get that humor will laugh, but some people will look and be like, wait, that was funny? But sure enough, like Joey Votto, man, like he's one of the most interesting people really in sports because like he just goes about his business, like former MVP, and just again, like you said, like at least so far, he's living up to his monster contract.
You could maybe make an argument for Scherzer. I know there aren't really a lot of fans of pitchers winning MVP, but
yeah,
I mean.
Yeah, or again, we mentioned him earlier, Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah, he's another good option. I mean, he's definitely tailed off from what he was, but still hitting 330. I mean, that's not exactly the worst stat.
Yeah, and again, he's been that consistent force for the Nationals.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, those are our MVPs, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But let's move on to teams, which I mean, I know in the AL we agree, so do we want to start there?
Yeah, why not?
1, 2, 3, Houston Astros. Best team in baseball. It's not even really close right now.
Well,
it might be kind of close now.
Dodgers.
But yeah, which we'll get to that. But
your eyes rolled and you look like the Undertaker.
I could do that, dude.
I can too. Oh God.
Anyway, but yeah, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, there are a couple teams might have caught up a little bit in this last month, but for the talk of the season, the Houston Astros have been the best team in baseball. And I mean, talk about a plan coming together. Remember a couple years ago when that Sports Illustrated cover came out and it said "Your 2017 World Series champions"?
Yeah.
The prophecy may be complete this year.
Oh, man.
I mean, when most of the Houston Astros are representing the AL in the All-Star game, like Altuve, Springer, Keuchel,
McCullers,
Correa,
Correa, yeah. And you still have veterans like McCann and Josh Reddick.
Carlos Beltran.
Carlos Beltran. You have Marwin Gonzalez, who plays everywhere and hits
Marwin
15 home runs.
Biggest all-star snub by far was Marwin Gonzalez.
The guy plays every position and hits over 300.
Yeah, well bet. Like, just you talk about a jack of all trades. Like, if I'm him, like I play with that chip on my shoulder the rest of the year, man.
Absolutely. I mean, even a guy like Evan Gattis.
Yeah.
They have talent. They have tons of talent everywhere.
They have the talent. They have the manager. They have it all, man.
They have it all, and they have a resurgent fan base, which is great for the city of Houston because they haven't really seen winners in a while.
It's true.
So it's great that the Astros are back in this. 2 years ago they had that big run. Last year they struggled a bit at the beginning, still made a run, but didn't make the playoffs. This year, I mean, yeah, I came into the season with them winning it all.
Did you?
All right, I had them coming in, finishing in first.
I know we had the Mariners winning the division. Cough, cough, cough.
No. I had the Astros winning the division. I had the Mariners winning the wild card.
I don't believe you. I'll go back and check the tape later.
You better go back and check. It's the truth, damn it.
Let this be known that this was the day that Matt Meffy screwed Matt Meffy.
This is not fake news.
I hate you so much.
Fake media.
Anyway, what are we talking about again? Oh yeah, the Houston Astros.
Oh yeah, the Astros. Yeah, that team.
I mean, you talk about World Series favorites. There they are. And again, they've got. I mean, this seems like the perfect storm of young talent that, if it can continue, it can become a dynasty. Obviously, they still have another half of the season to be played. So we'll see, but again, at the first half, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team like the Houston Astros. But in the NL, you found one.
It's got to be the Dodgers. I mean, every year, it's like I go into the season, the Dodgers are always that one team that I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I have my suspicions, but I every year I have that feeling that there's going to be a regression because a lot of their players have gotten older. Puig has gotten stupider.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though Kershaw has been getting better and better and better, it's just kind of hard to root for them because you just don't really know what'll happen. And then every year it seems that I get proven wrong. Because last year, with all the injuries they had, they won the division, made it to the NLCS, took it to a Game 6. The year before, won the division. The year before that, won the division. This year, they're in line to do it again. And they have the best record in baseball. It's not like it's not like the division's close. Because it's not as close as it once was. Remember, there was a 3-way tie at one point?
Yes.
Well, now it seems like this is just the Dodgers division. And they have talent everywhere. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, you don't really need to go anywhere past him. He alone can lead a team. But you got guys like Turner, who, was a journeyman for a little bit, had a successful 2011 with the Mets.
I was going to say, like Daniel Murphy, a former Mets utility guy who became a star.
Exactly. You got guys like we mentioned Bellinger. I don't even know who else.
Corey Seager.
Kenley Jansen, Corey Seager.
Ooh, pick me.
Tyler.
How about Alex Wood?
Alex Wood.
1.67 ERA, 97 strikeouts. Hi, Dark Horse Cy Young candidate. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, potentially. And even if Keuchel comes back in the American League, could be another good option for the AL because he's undefeated.
Yeah.
I mean, wins and losses to me don't really matter, but undefeated still
right.
Still a big deal.
Oh, yeah. So, But yeah, like, I mean, no, like, I definitely agree that the Dodgers are, like, a big threat. And obviously the NL, like, and you said best record in baseball. But another team that deserves play, and a lot of times, like you kind of mentioned it with the Dodgers, but it's the will they get there? Will they get there? Is this going to be the Washington Nationals' time?
Boo!
I know, I know. I feel like I got to go take a shower for saying that, but even though, I mean, we talked about garbage fires of a division, the NL East, everybody,
Oh,
but
God.
but the Washington Nationals, hey, when you can take advantage of that and when you could still be considered one of the best teams in baseball because you could play other teams tough too, yeah, guess what? Like, now again, like, we all know that the big red mark, the big circle of concern is the back of the bullpen. That's no secret. It's been talked about since April.
Yet,
Can they fix that?
yet they're still division leaders, and it looks like the division's a lock.
By a lot.
Like the division's a lock. I mean, yeah, the Braves are doing stuff, but
they are participating. Yes,
the Braves are they get a participation trophy, but I don't see them winning the division. They don't have enough tools. Not that they don't have any, but they just don't have enough.
Right.
Same thing with the Marlins. It's sad. Do you know how sad it is as a Mets fan, knowing that for the past 2 years we've been in the playoffs, and now the Marlins and the Braves are better than us?
At least you had the Phillies to look down on, man. But yeah, so I mean, and it's funny because Brett Litke and I talked about the Washington Capitals for hockey, and it happened again this past year where everyone was pretty much picking, all right, this has got to be the Capitals' time to win the cup. It's got to be the Capitals' time to win the cup.
I never agree with that.
and they lost in 7 games in the Eastern Conference semifinals to the Pittsburgh Penguins. After they went out and got the big fish and Kevin Shattenkirk at the trade deadline, they have the goalie, they have the superstar, they have depth. Like Brett and I kept using the word mystifying to describe the Capitals' playoff struggles. Same thing here with the Washington Nationals in the same city. Mystifying that despite the fact that this team is a good team and they go out and they make the right moves, they can't get over the hump in the playoffs for some reason. What that reason is, who the hell knows?
I mean, it could be a combination of a lot of things, but because
they've had a few different managers in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, even in the Capitals situation, like I can't really pinpoint anything on it.
Nobody can. It's
the Nationals. I could see many reasons, not hitting in clutch situations, the pitching kind of faltering. The back
Remember
end
that series against the Cardinals a couple years ago where they just fell apart in the ninth?
Yeah, it was 5-3, and then the final was 7-5. They lost.
Mm-hmm. So, who knows? Because, again, they know, too, they have a limited window because, at the end of next year, Bryce Harper, more than likely, going to go bye-bye. Probably future Philadelphia Philly Bryce Harper. But
Or Yankee,
yes. And also, Daniel Murphy's contract is due to be up soon. He could leave. He could go. I think Rendon's contract might be kind of coming to a close soon too.
They're gonna lose pieces.
They know they have a limited window, and they know they're not going to be able to lock them all down, especially if everyone buys into the hype and Bryce Harper gets $400 million to play somewhere.
Yeah, I still don't think that's happening.
I think it might. Scott Boras is his agent, and he's one of the top 3 names in Major League Baseball. But it's him, Trout, and Kershaw are really the top 3.
Pretty much,
and maybe Judge now too. But
speaking of Trout, he's back Friday.
Yeah, and
speaking of Bumgarner, he's back Saturday.
Oh, yeah, how about that? How about Matt Bum coming back?
I mean, he's going to come back to a Giants team that's looking up at everybody.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's not like anybody's really panicking in San Francisco because, Bruce Bochy, He won them 3 World Series rings.
Exactly.
He ain't going anywhere.
And if I were the Giants, like, looking at this, you've had so much success over the past few years. What's one bad year really going to do?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Use the early draft picks, restock your farm system.
Exactly. Like, you're due for a rebuild year. And
Absolutely.
This year's the year.
Mm-hmm. So, do we want to try to predict a World Series?
I mean, I might just go with the safe route and go with the 2 best teams in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Dodgers Astros would be an interesting series.
Oh, that would be exciting. Kershaw versus that lineup.
Kershaw versus Keuchel, game
Keuchel versus that lineup.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even care. It's July. Sign me up.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. And like an interesting note, and I don't know if this is going to lead to any kind of prediction or anything, but what's funny about like the 2 surprise teams in both Centrals, the Brewers and the Twins, both of them are just dynamos on the road because the Twins are 25-15 away from Target Field, and the Brewers, despite having a winning record at home, are 24-18 on the road. So like, I wonder if those guys can make an impact.
I'm pretty sure.
Like, it'd be interesting to see them. It'd be cool to see one of those 2 teams win a series if they make the postseason.
I mean, hey, look at 2011. The Brewers were in the freaking NLCS.
Yes, they were.
To think that they were that close to the World Series 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm. What a different world.
Yeah. And even the Diamondbacks were in the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
The Brewers eliminated them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's shaping up to be an interesting rest of the way and definitely an interesting postseason.
And we've got a trade deadline in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna end with a little bit of rapid fire.
Oh boy, here we go.
So we're gonna play a little game of buyers or sellers.
Oh, okay, let's do it.
We've talked about it a couple of teams already. So let's get started. The Royals.
They gotta be buyers, man. Like, again, like, especially like if this is the last run there for guys like Hosmer, Lorenzo Cain, whoever else may be free agents or whatever. With the mojo they have going right now, you don't have to be a big buyer. Maybe like a number 2 to go behind Vargas.
Jose Quintana.
In the same division? That'd be interesting. But
that would be kind of interesting. But weirder stuff has happened.
I mean, maybe, hell, if you go after like a Jeremy Hellickson or a Pat Neshek.
I mean, that brings me to an interesting point, and I think there was a lot of mention of this during the All-Star game. Everybody talked about it was weird seeing Brad Hand and Pat Neshek on the NL All-Star roster, and the one thing that always came up next was they might not be with their teams come the trade deadline.
Oh, it's a guarantee at this point that Pat Neshek is not going to be in a Phillies uniform.
No, and I'm pretty sure Brad Hand probably won't be in a Padres uniform. Maybe he'll stay, maybe not.
Yeah.
But who knows at this point? Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, Royals are succeeding. Yeah, they have a lot of guys that are probably on their way out. But,
or could be, at least.
Or could be. If they want to win, this is their one and only shot to do it.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to go out and get the biggest, like the shiniest toy.
No, you don't need, Johnny Cueto.
No.
Although, because they've had Johnny Cueto.
Yes, it's true. Could you imagine if they just did that again?
Hey, I mean, Chapman found his way back to the Yankees.
Well, that was a little different. That was free agency.
True, but yeah. All right, whatever. Anyway, speaking of the Yankees. I mean, they're 4 games over 500, and they are tied with the Rays for the wild card. Brian Cashman has already hinted that they're going to be buyers. I don't know if I see it, though.
If they go anywhere, it would probably be the starting rotation. because
or the bullpen before Chapman.
yeah, because like Tanaka obviously has not been great this year.
No.
Sabathia was showing promise, but whatever. And they have young pitchers who show promise, but again, they kind of get shaky. So maybe, again, let's ding the counter one more time for Jose Quintana.
I was actually going to go in a different route. They need an upgrade at third base because Chase Headley's just ain't cutting it. That could be another good thing to try and get. A good position, excuse me. Player.
So who would you go get?
That's the problem. I have no idea. Because right now, third base is, other than first base, it's one of the strongest positions. I was gonna say divisions. Division of third base.
I don't know where, and I don't know where I'd go either. I was just asking because I didn't know if you had an idea. I mean, maybe do you get like a Todd Frazier?
I mean, I've heard rumors that the Todd father might be on his way to New York if the Mets choose to buy, which I doubt will happen.
The Mets choose to buy?
Yeah.
Well.
The Mets will not buy. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Unless it's a player we don't need. Jay Bruce. But maybe.
But yeah, if the Yankees do buy, that's where I think they'd go.
There's one name, and I can't believe I'm saying this. How about Adrian Beltre?
Are we ready to declare the Rangers out of this?
I don't know, but I haven't really seen a lot of improvement out of them. They've just kind of stayed stagnant. Maybe they'd be buyers, but I can also see them being sellers.
Or if they really wanted to make John Daniels' day, Joey Gallo.
It's another good option as well.
Because he can play third.
Yes, he can. I mean, he also has a lot of power, which is great in that park.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
I mean, either of those two wouldn't be surprising.
I'm trying to think of someone else. Because the American League is hard because they're all so close. The National League might be easier, but I think National League at third base isn't really that strong.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of more locks, too, because, like, Rendon's locked down, Arenado's locked down, Turner's locked down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's another buyer-seller question. Blue Jays. Because Josh Donaldson just popped into my head for some reason.
I think the Blue Jays stand pat, if anything. Mainly because, like, what do they have to sell? I mean, Justin Smoke, if you can sell someone on him.
Justin Smoke or...
I don't see Donaldson being dealt.
Especially at the rate he's on. He's not having a great year. Tua's having a good year.
Yeah. Like, we mentioned all their things earlier, and they're going to want to keep Ozuna because he's so young.
Exactly. Ozuna could be like their leader in the pitching. Well, their pitching leader.
Yeah. So, I think they stand. I don't think they do either. Because what do they have to sell, and they have no real reason to buy right now.
Right. Trying to think of another team.
How about a team we haven't really talked about much, even though they're leading their division? How about the Boston Red Sox?
I could definitely see them buying, but what?
There's another team that could need a third baseman.
Third baseman or a starter past Price and Sale?
Yeah, because Rick Porcello kind of went back down to earth, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And maybe some bullpen help before Kimbrel?
Another possible destination for Pat Neshek.
Yeah, or Brad Hand for that matter. I mean, the Red Sox have traded with the Padres. I mean, last year they got Drew Pomeranz from them.
Yeah, it's true. And also the Kimbrel trade.
The Kimbrel trade, yeah. And Adrian Gonzalez. Yeah. So they've definitely had history. They could be good trade partners again.
Always possible. Always possible.
But they can't sell because obviously they're.
Oh yeah, they're.
I just don't know what they'd buy. I mean, we kind of.
I think third base would be the best option because Sandoval ain't cutting it.
No, not at all. How about the? I can't even say
it. Were you about to say how about the Reds or the Rays?
The Rays.
You know
what?
You laugh, but although the Rays are normally traditionally a stand pat organization,
they always have been. You're absolutely right.
Because I mean, again, Kiermaier went down. Did they go out and replace him? No, they have Malik Smith out there who's doing fantastic. So, you know what? I don't think the Rays do anything. It might bite them in the ass at the end of the year, but
I'm hoping.
I think they're going to stick to their morals.
I'm really hoping they make a run.
I want them to make a run. I just don't know if they'll buy to do it.
It'd be out of nowhere. It'd almost be like that Twins 2015 run.
But better.
Especially for that city because, again, they don't see many winners.
Yeah.
Pirates? No, not Pirates. Sorry. Cardinals. I think I also see them standing pat.
Yeah, it's the Cardinal way. Because even when they add at the deadline, they don't normally add a big piece.
Yeah, I mean
they make their moves in the off season.
Exactly, like getting guys like Mike Leake, who's
Dexter Fowler, Jason Hayward.
Yeah, for actually the first year they signed Mike Leake, I think he's an $80 million fourth starter.
Hey, for a while he was leading in ERA.
Who is now their ace, other than Carlos Martinez? Yes, one of their aces.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, and you brought up kind of going back to your question that you posted in the Third Base Saloon a while back of which of these players is most likely to regain their composure or whatever.
That was actually my next question.
Do it to it, host.
Yeah, I mean, I put out a question, excuse me, saying if these guys were going to be traded, which one is most likely to be traded? There were a couple of options that I put out there. Let me just check the poll because I know a few of them, but I forgot all of them.
I know McCutchen was on there. Julio Teheran was on there.
McCutchen, Cueto, Quintana, Archer, Bruce. I think McCutchen gets moved.
Really?
If you're the Pirates, you're not going anywhere with him. He's hitting like the McCutchen of old. Imagine what you get for him.
How far are they out of the wild card?
Well, I mean, if the Cubs are 7.5 back, they've got to be at least 10 back.
Yeah.
They're 9, excuse me. 9.
Yeah, that makes sense. And plus, with them too, you have Austin Meadows waiting in the wings.
Exactly.
So you can afford to take the hit.
And even going back and looking at the Pirates year by year, it's every year from 2013 to 2015, they made the playoffs, and yet every offseason they did less and less and less. It's come back to bite them. They needed to buy then, and they didn't. So now it's gotten to a point where everybody that you had, or a lot of guys that you had, are gone.
Right.
So I mean, let's be honest here. McCutchen goes. You still have Gregory Polanco. You still have Marte coming back from suspension.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you have nobody in the outfield.
Correct.
And those guys are still young, and you could build around them. And the Pirates, I think one thing they've lacked is very, very good pitching. McCutchen can bring back some pitchers, could bring back a first baseman that they desperately needed.
Yeah.
I think that he goes. Maybe not at the trade deadline, but in the offseason, I think he goes.
Wasn't he a free agent at the end of the year?
He might be. I think he is.
I want to say he is, yeah.
All right. Well, if he doesn't get if he doesn't get traded at the deadline, I don't see him staying in Pittsburgh.
No, and where do you think he could go?
Whew. Good question.
I mean, maybe you talked about the Pirates possibly getting a first baseman. It'd be a stopgap, but maybe he goes out west and the Pirates get Adrian Gonzalez.
It's not the worst move in the world.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there'd be more parts to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
But like, there's something like if you don't have enough faith in Jock Peterson or whatever the case may be.
I think the Dodgers could be a perfect fit for him. Or if
He has that Hollywood personality too.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Manny did when Manny went there.
Yeah, and I think also like he's always been one of the classiest guys in baseball. I think that could be very good for LA.
Yeah.
Or hell, if the Angels wanted to make a run, a lineup of an outfield of Trout and McCutchen.
Doubt it, but I see where you're getting at.
The Oakland A's go out and make a move. I don't know. Let's not get too carried away. Yeah, that's all I have for now. Do you have any others?
Fits for Andrew McCutchen?
For like questions.
I'm good. We've been talking for a while.
All right, let's wrap it up.
It's gonna be a wild ride.
It's a wrap. Let's finish this season strong. Let's hope for some more great action, big memories, big moments, standout performances in the second half, just like we got in the first half. Thank you, Tyler, for once again appearing on this podcast.
Thank you for having me on yet again.
I will probably have you back. I think I am going to do a July recap. Why not? I need more content on this channel in some way, shape, or form. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm going to do a July recap. So stay tuned for that. Also, guys, the Unlimited Marathon is coming up August 18th. You're going to get one big, giant cluster of videos in one day. You're going to hate me by the end of that day. But I don't care because you're getting content. So, I'm Matt from Unlimited. You have watched the Unlimited Podcast.